All right. Welcome to the concurrent session C4 Mental Wellness Peer Support. My name is Jennifer Dalmeida, and I'm joined by my colleague Cindy Pestrak, and we will be your facilitators for this session. Before we get started, I will just review some quick housekeeping notes, and then I will introduce our speaker and we'll begin the session. So firstly, I'd just like to draw your attention to the bottom of the screen where you will find the Zoom toolbar. There you can use the Q&A feature to submit questions throughout the presentation. We'll then review these questions at the end of the session and do our best to answer as many as possible in time as we have. Please also ensure your microphone is on mute until the Q&A portion of the session. Also, please note we will be recording the session to upload to the conference website for future viewing by those who have registered for the conference, and you'll be able to access this platform for 90 days following the conference. And I would also like to remind everyone we have closed captioning for all of our sessions. So if you click on the CC icon below the video window on your screen to access the function, you can find it there. We kindly ask that you complete the evaluation for this session by clicking on the session in the agenda on the virtual platform. There will be a survey button at the bottom of the session next to the join button. Your feedback is appreciated and will be used to inform future events such as this conference. And we would also like to respectfully ask all of those attending today's session to engage with each other and consider the impact of your words and interactions on others. As facilitators, we won't tolerate any abusive or inappropriate behavior or hate speech, and will ensure that anyone who engages in such behavior is removed from the session. If you have been disturbed or affected by such an event, please do what you need to do for you. Take a break, step outside, practice deep breathing, or reach out to someone that you trust. If you're in a crisis and require immediate support, please click on the FAQ icon on the conference homepage to access contact information for Connex Ontario. If you would like to report an incident, please contact the event manager, Sherry Sim, by clicking either on the assistance button at the top right menu bar on your screen to send an email or text Sherry at 416-605-5975. Thank you so much for letting me get through those housekeeping items. Now, I would like to introduce you to our presenter for this session, Jason Balgopal from Mental Wellness Support Group.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Cindy and Jennifer, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you folks for being here today. I'm glad you're here, and I think you're going to enjoy this presentation. I certainly hope you do. So why don't we get right into it? I want to first of all start off with just a little warning. There is going to be a small discussion at one point about suicide, and I'll give you a heads up on that. And so that if you want to turn your screen off or take a pause, you can, but it won't be very long. My name is Jason Balgopal, and I'm really glad to be here today. I want to talk to you today about peer support. Peer support in the mental health context, I think, is extremely important, and not the be-all and end-all, but as you'll hear me talk later, a thread within a web of support. I've been a lawyer for over 25 years, and I've had to deal with depression. Thankfully, I've gotten lots of help, and I'm happy to tell you all about that. I've also been very pleased that I've been part of the local HSJCC for Scarborough for many years. As Jennifer said, if you have any questions, please do drop them into the Q&A box. I'm happy to answer them throughout the morning as we go through this. As far as what we're going to talk about today, I want to give you a brief discussion about mental health, some of the issues, explain my own personal story, talk to you about what peer support is and how it can be beneficial and how the peer support groups that I've started out, and then give you also an understanding of how you can start your own peer support group if you so choose. Of course, as always, as a government employee, I'm just going to let you know that anything that I say here are my opinions and not that of my governmental employer. So have no fear, it's all on me. Now, there are 4 questions I'd like to start off by asking you folks about, and I'll put the poll up in just a minute. But they are, have you been affected by a mental wellness issue, or maybe somebody you know been affected by a mental wellness issue? And that could be depression, PTSD, anything at all. And then, what is the primary concern? Choose one. If there's another, you can write it in yourself. How much has the mental health issue affected your daily life? 0 being really not at all, to 10 being quite severely. And then lastly, how much do you know about peer support? So there, all the questions are going to come out, but we're going to do it one at a time. Have no fear. So let's get right into the poll. And I'm going to start the first poll right now. And the poll has started. Give you a little bit of time. And I appreciate you folks being so diligent and answering so quickly. We've got about 20 odd answers here, and I think that's probably all we're going to get. So let's end the poll. I'm going to share the results. And in all honesty, in fairness, you'll see from the presentation I give later, I didn't quite expect the answer to be as overwhelming as that. 100% of the people. And that may be a testament to the fact that you're here to listen to this presentation. It may also be a testament to just how challenging it is out there in the world right now. All right, let's get into the second question. And oops, tried to launch it, but I have not. So I will. Oh, I had to stop sharing. I do apologize. There we launched the second poll. And we've gotten good responses, and this is all just anonymous. I have no idea who's answering what, so have no fear about that. All
And
right.
Jason, we have about 34 people in the room, so minus us, about 30 you're looking at if everyone responds.
Right. It looks like we're about 86% of the people who have answered, so thank you very much. And let's end the poll now, and I'll let you see what the answers are. And you can see about 27%, quarter, express issues of depression. More than that are anxiety, PTSD, schizophrenia, ADHD, and then there are other components as well. Okay, so now 2 more polls. Did I share the results? I apologize if I didn't. Okay, I did share the results. Let's go back then. And there's the third of the 4 polls to do today. So question is, how much is it affecting you or the person who has this challenge? Not at all, or right up to a whole lot. And I think in fairness, there's a broad spectrum of how it affects people. And from my personal experience, it certainly has been one where some days it affects me a lot, and some days it doesn't affect me very much at all. And so if you're answering for how is it affecting you right now, or generally your answer may be different, but we've got a good response now. And those people who are telling us that they've got a challenge or they're helping somebody who has a challenge, they're not answering that it's, I'll just end the poll and share it with you there. They're not answering that it's, not affecting them at all, or even, minorly at 1 or 2 out of 10. The answers are starting at 3, 4, 5. And some people are in fact saying they're severely impacted by this. And again, I think this is a testament to just how challenging our world is right now. Now, last poll, and before I get into the meat and potatoes of things, how much do you know about peer support? It could be 0, you don't really know anything at all, or you've got a good handle on this, right, at number 10. Right? All right. A few people know a great deal about this, and that's fantastic. I'm glad you're here today, and I'm glad you're participating in this. But in fairness, let's stop the poll and we'll share it with you. It looks like a lot of people have some knowledge about peer support. Some have a great deal. And I want to thank you for answering all those poll questions. We'll have one more at the end, and we'll see if we come up with any different answers. Let's stop the sharing, and let me go right back into the rest of the presentation then. I'm not going to talk to you a lot about statistics, but I think it's important to frame some of the issues. When we're talking about mental health challenges, it's upwards of 20% of the population that are experiencing a mental health issue within a year. That's 1 in 5. That's a significant number of people in our community. There is, I would still say, and certainly has been, a large stigma attached with mental health issues to the point where it affects people's ability or willingness to get treatment and support. And that's very challenging. I think some of us are old enough to remember when, people older than us got cancer. And I remember when I was young, people who got cancer, they wouldn't talk about it. Oh, she's got the big C, as if we can't even mention the word cancer. Thankfully, our society has moved on to a stage where we're willing to talk about that, and it's not an issue anymore. And I think the willingness to talk about that has really broadened and expanded the ability of people to get help and treatment and to do investigations and research into that. And so stigma is something we will talk about a little bit later. And the ability of people to get treatment is, how many people actually go to their doctor and how many people over a period of time actually get treatment. It's not as much as I would certainly like. And I think that translates ultimately then to a large number of people, 20%, who call in sick because of a mental health issue. Frankly, I don't think that's a problem, inasmuch that calling in sick for a mental health issue, in my view, is no different than calling in sick for a physical issue. But again, there's a stigma about that, and we'll talk about that. Let me tell you a little bit about my own personal story. I was a fun and happy child. My mother would say I was kind of cute there too. But I had a lot of perfectionist tendencies. And little did myself or little did my parents know that I am on the autism spectrum. Now, I'm certainly not on the autism spectrum in the way many other people are, and it took a long time because of that for me to get diagnosed. I didn't get diagnosed until I was 50. All of us are awkward in some ways when we're teenagers, but the fact that I didn't understand what my challenges were on the spectrum made it more difficult. And have always been very highly verbal, and I can make good eye contact, but I'm pretty rigid in my rules. That's something that is who I am. I follow them to a T. Well, not many teenagers are always like that, and that caused a little friction, and I couldn't figure out why. Gosh, my youth, my childhood worked quite well. I was interacting with adults, and they loved the verbal ability I had. But my teenage colleagues didn't seem to really care for me in the same way that the adults had. I just didn't seem to know what to do or say or how to interact with people in the right way. And so as a result of that, I went through high school and university, and by the time I got to law school, I had started to enter into a period of depression. I mean, public school wasn't hard for me. In fact, it was really easy. I was very intelligent. I, in fact, was ultimately in the gifted program at one time. Doesn't necessarily mean that was a great thing for me. I didn't learn the skills of having to study hard, and I didn't learn the skills of having to overcome adversity. And that meant when I got to law school, there were a lot of smart people there, and you couldn't just pick it up. You really had to study, and I didn't have that ability. I didn't have those techniques. And I didn't have the technique to overcome adversity. And that's one of the challenges I found that helped drive my depression. Without that ability to overcome, get back on the horse when you fall off of it. Without that ability, I internalized all of these challenges as my fault. And the depression got worse and anxiety came. Now, that sort of coincided when I started my professional life. And I don't know whether, was it because of my professional life that this got worse, or was it just a coincidence? I'm a trial lawyer by trade, and in the criminal justice system, the process is structured in favor of the defendant, and that's the way it should be: innocent and proven guilty. But it also means that a lot of the time I wasn't successful, or at least successful as I want to be. Now, I'm not saying that success in the criminal justice system means getting a conviction, because I certainly don't believe so. Properly conducting prosecutorial work always means doing the right thing. And that does include terminating a prosecution when appropriate. And I certainly have done so. And I certainly have gotten very good personal satisfaction, both from
Haven't I
being
figured out how to
successful,
move my computer here? I just may do it more
very
often.
successful as a prosecutor, uh, by prosecuting things, but also when need be to stopping a prosecution. Um, the challenge, though, is why personal experience was that the glory and the kudos went to people who did the big cases and got the great results. And not always getting that, I found that the depression got worse. Luckily, I was able to get some help. And I do thank OHIP very much because the help that I got was funded by the Ontario Health Insurance Plan. And I got a psychiatrist. Uh, Sadly, the first psychiatrist that I got didn't really connect with. And I think that's an important aspect of mental health um, because a lot of physical health may be just looking at the body and diagnosing from there. Mental health requires an interaction with your healthcare provider. And if the interaction on a verbal level, on an intellectual level, by explaining what's happening inside of you, and if that healthcare professional doesn't click with you, it's very difficult to open up. It's very difficult to be truthful and honest with them, and you need to be. And so, as a result of that, or not as a result of that, but despite having been connected with a psychiatrist, things still got worse. And as I mentioned, there's going to be one slide, and it's the next one that I'm going to talk to about a little bit about suicide. So if you want to turn your monitor off now, go right ahead. I'll let you orally know, verbally know when to come back on. So sadly, later that year, back in 2007, I made an attempt. Um, my boss ultimately found out about it. And what should have been, a cone of silence, ended up being a sieve of silence. And the story percolated out. I don't fault my boss. I know it was not deliberate. Whatever happened and whoever heard it somehow spread the news. But soon, unfortunately, a lot of people knew. And it affected my career negatively. I mean, we are talking 15 or 18 years ago, and the perceptions of mental health challenges were different back then. But it's, I think, been a bit of a millstone around my neck in my career for many years. Um, what I've personally done, though, is I felt empowered by it. Not initially. I felt quite upset by the fact that the story got out. I was very hurt, and I have been very bothered by the fact that I think my career has been affected by this because I view this as a health issue, not a moral failing, not an issue where I was weak. In fact, I think people who walk through their mental health challenges and are able to get through it are extremely strong. Gosh, if I could have a broken arm, I would love a broken arm. Because when I was a kid, you got a broken arm, you got this white plaster cast. Everybody said, "Oh, that's terrible." And they signed it. And you got lots of sympathy, empathy, compassion. And it fixed itself. It's pretty simple to fix. Broken arm, put it back together, it mends itself. That's not the way it is for a mental health challenge. You need help. And I got help with a psychiatrist, and I was very pleased about that. It ultimately meant that part of my journey required that I took medication, and I got therapy, and I read lots of books. But it's not as simple as a break in the arm, and it is more challenging. And if you've taken your monitor off, put your monitor back on. We're on to more of the story now. And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them as we go along. So I did get into a better headspace. I no longer needed the medication. My psychiatrist told me that. In fact, she ultimately said that I don't need to see her anymore, and I didn't need the weekly support. I still go to my therapist every once in a while, but that is more of a maintenance thing. But I don't think I was ever cured, so to speak. I was better, but I wasn't ever sort of cured. It's something that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. Sometimes it affects me more and sometimes less. One of the things that I noticed when I was dealing with all those healthcare professionals was that I was missing the support of peers. That is, people who had walked a mile in my shoes, people who knew what it was like to have depression or anxiety or PTSD. Now, I think peer support, or in fact, all the various types of support you can get, whether it's medication or talk therapy or a psychiatrist or friends and family or peer support, is part of a web of support. And the peer support is just one thread in that web. Sometimes an individual needs a lot of different types of support. Sometimes they need very few items. Sometimes I need more support at a particular time, and sometimes I need less. But for me, peer support was the one thread in that web of support that was missing. Now, I had seen The West Wing, and if you've never seen the show, it's a great show. Truly enjoy it. But this clip that I'm going to show you next really had a meaningful impact on me. Um, and It's one of those anecdotal things. I'll talk to you both about some statistics later on about why peer support is important. But anecdotally, we as humans react to a good story. And this 1 minute clip that I'll show you is a really good story and really moved me. It really tugged at me. If you haven't seen the show before, I'll just lay out the players. Josh, you'll see him. He jokes around about being afraid of rectangles. He experienced a traumatic situation, and he had been affected by it, and it was showing in his work. But Leo tells him a story which, for me, completely encapsulates the ethos of peer support. Just truly. All right, here we go.
How'd it go?
Oops, we stopped by accident.
Did you wait around for me?
How'd it go?
He thinks I may have an eating disorder.
Josh.
And fear of rectangles. That's not weird, is it? I didn't cut my hand on a glass. I broke a window in my apartment.
This guy's walking down the street when he falls in the hole. The walls are so steep he can't get out. A doctor passes by and the guy shouts up, "Hey, you, can you help me out?" The doctor writes a prescription, throws it down in the hole, and moves on. Then a priest comes along and the guy shouts up, "Father, I'm down in this hole, can you help me out?" The priest writes out a prayer, throws it down in the hole, and moves on. Then a friend walks by. "Hey, Joe, it's me, can you help me out?" And the friend jumps in the hole. Our guy says, "Are you stupid? Now we're both down here." The friend says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before and I know the way out." Long as I got a job, you got a job, you understand?
Just absolutely powerful. Something that I found very meaningful. Now, peer support, though, is actually validated with science. Studies have shown that peer support reduces hospitalization and enhances personal growth. This is not something, while it is touchy-feely in as much that was a great clip, it also actually helps people. And so back in 2015, I had gotten to myself into a better headspace. And I am naturally an organizer. I think it's one of my superpowers being on the spectrum. And when I say that, I truly would love to get into your garage or your closet and organize it. I just love organizing. But I also organize things and I organize people. And I sat back at the end of 2014 and was talking with my wife about what do I need going forward? If my psychiatrist says, "Listen, I don't need her anymore." Well, what do I need? How am I going to maintain myself? And one of the things that I needed was peer support. What are you going to do about it, Jason? Well, what's your power, Jason? Well, I can organize. Well, then organize something. And so I did. I got an advertisement in the local newspaper, and you can see it there. And we started off just supposed to have a once a month meeting. But the first meeting, everybody said, "Oh, no, 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 no. We want this as a once a week meeting." I wasn't even sure how many people would show up. I had my wife come as a ringer just to fill a body in the seat. And we had enough people that she left. So let me tell you a little bit about how these groups work, and then I can tell you about, if you want, how you can support yourself and how successful they are. So I found that one of the things I was doing was I was burning out my wife. I mean, she wanted to help, but she didn't know how. And I kept up with the same complaint over and over again. And she's like, okay, I want to help you, but I just like, honey, I don't, she didn't have the personal experience. She just didn't know what to do. So one of the important aspects about these peer support groups is that, and we run them online and we run them in person, is that everyone can share. There's no pressure to do so. As we always say, simply being there is enough. Simply being there is really important. It allows people to understand that they're not alone. But being there and sharing allows people to get off their chest what's bothering them. And that is really important. Being able to put into words what is bothering you, for me, it's almost like getting the illness out. It allows me to get it out of my body and I feel lighter. But I'm able to do that in these groups with people who want to listen. It's not that my wife didn't want to listen, but she didn't have that experience to be able to help me. So these people are there and they do want to listen. The second important aspect of the groups is that we give people an opportunity to get feedback. Now, we're peer support. We're not professionals in these groups. So we're not ever going to tell somebody what they should or shouldn't do, because I don't know what you should or shouldn't do. But our feedback is either empathy or a best practice, something that has worked well for me. So we will certainly say, John, thank you very much for sharing. That must have been very challenging. It must be very difficult for you. I'm glad you're here. But we'll also give examples that have worked well for others, personal. And we frame it by saying to the other members in the group, if you can say it like this, in my experience, X helped me, then you can talk about X. One of the techniques that I certainly use myself is box breathing. And I want to show you what this is right now. And I encourage you all to use it right now or even later tonight. It's called box breathing. It could be controlled slow breathing. The box is the concept that if you draw a box in the air, every side requires you to do something. Either inhale, hold, and exhale, and hold. Now, doing that for 1 second on each side is not very difficult. Increase it to 2. Increase it to 3. What I find is when my mind is racing, my anxiety is going, and I just can't think straight, if I can do a little box breathing, get it up to 3 or 4, I calm down and my mind starts thinking more clearly. That's the type of real world example that people will give. And I'll say, John, listen, when I was in your circumstances, I used box breathing. The person can take it or not. There's no pressure on them to do so. But talking about it also normalizes the idea that you're not the only one, that other people have challenges like this. It also creates a bond between people. And I'll talk about some of the benefits, including the friendships that people have made within the groups and how important that is. The other aspect to our groups is that we offer people free professional therapy. And I'll talk about that a little later. Some of the extra benefits, and I mentioned this about the friendships. Some of the extra benefits is that people do make friends in these groups. And that's a fantastic thing. People can see these people outside of the groups. They can connect with them in other venues. It reduces the isolation. Whether it's an in-person group where people actually physically get out into nature, that is at least walking to the group, fresh air, being with other people in a church basement or a community hall basement, it reduces their isolation, requires them to get out, allows them to connect with other people in an area that they know is safe. Even if it's online, there are a lot of people who find the depression so debilitating they can't get out of bed. This gives them a reason to at least get to the computer, connect with other people, realize they're not alone. And it also allows the facilitators to be able to get opportunities for themselves. I'll talk about our facilitators, but they're the people that run the meetings. We've had at least one of them parlay his experience into a full-time job, but all of the facilitators always say that it gives them great meaning to be able to do this. Every time I facilitate one of these meetings, and I don't do very many, we have other facilitators do them, I always come out feeling much better than when I went in. Now, let me play you another video. And this one is a video that we use sort of for outreach to explain to people how the groups work. It's obviously not exactly as a group is, because we're not going to tape what happens in a group, because we always say what happens in a group stays in a group. But it's a little example of it.
Yeah, my name is Bella. I have challenges with depression and anxiety.
Oh gosh, what am I doing here? How is this going to help me? What can these people offer to me? They want me to share? To tell them my fears? My worries? How can I do that?
Jason, would you like to share?
Me? Share? Okay. Earlier this week, I had to do a presentation, and I was so anxious about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I just thought of all the ways that it would go wrong. And I'd look like a fool. My heart kept pounding, and my head was almost spinning. I was just a wreck. It feels good to get that off my chest.
Thank you for sharing, Jason. Would you like some feedback?
Yes, thank you. I'd like that.
Bill, what empathy or best practices do you have to share with Jason?
Jason, what works for me when I start to get anxious is controlled slow breathing. When I've done controlled slow breathing, deep breathing, it has helped me manage my anxiety.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I was able to talk to somebody who wanted to listen about how I was feeling. I'm so glad I joined today.
Now, you saw that there were about 5 people on that example there, and that's not dissimilar from what our actual experience is. We are averaging about 6 people in a meeting, and that's a fantastic size. Our meetings generally are an hour long, and within that hour, if you get 10 people, it's a little more challenging for all 10 to be able to get off their chest what's bothering them and to get feedback. 6 is our average, and it's a really lovely size. 3 is a little small, but we always have a meeting. In fact, we have a meeting every night of the week. Sometimes there's some extra meetings, and there is, in fact, a meeting especially for those of you who are in the Ontario Public Service. It's Thursdays at 1 p.m. And so we're helping about 40 people each week, therefore about 2,000 people a year. Now, that's the statistics. Let me show you Haley. Haley's given us permission so that you can listen to her, and she's going to tell you why she likes these aspects of the groups.
The weekly confidential peer-to-peer support group has become a coveted time for me. I can let down the exterior I often put on during the week and share how I'm really doing in a safe and supportive space. When I share, if I'm up to it, I don't feel judgment, I feel support. Support comes in many ways, from people simply listening, offering empathy, or offering suggestions from their own experiences. I am so grateful for the vulnerability, kindness, and strength of my fellow peers who attend the meetings. I really value the community that the peer-to-peer support group has created, particularly in this time of self-isolation. The peer-to-peer support meetings gives me strength and makes me feel more empowered during the week.
Thank you, Haley. Now, how successful are they? You heard some anecdotal stuff. Very pleased that we were featured in the Globe and Mail just this June. And this is one of the things that when we're talking about how to start a peer support group, I want to highlight for you. If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears, well, did it actually fall? Does it matter? And so that's really important. When you're starting your groups, getting the word out is really important for people to know. If they don't know about it, they won't come. So let's talk a little bit about how you can actually start your own peer support group. And I would say it's not hard. The first thing is to make sure that you have a safe and secure location. Like I said, what happens in the group stays in the group. And so having a place where you can have, a closed room, if it's in person, perhaps it's in the basement of a local community center where everybody's sitting in a circle. That's a great place to do it. It's important that everybody be able to see the other people. And so when we do our groups online, we very much say to people that we want their video to be shown. It's just, if I turn my video off, it feels a little weird. And Cindy's looking around going, where did he go? What happened? Oh, now I got to get the video back on. There we go. And it makes people feel a little uncomfortable about participating with somebody. What are they doing back there? What's happening? So we always ask for people to keep their video on so that we can see them as if you're in that basement of the community center. Ease of access is important, both for people who have mobility issues, but also, humans are creatures of habit. They want to be able to know exactly where to go. They want to have regularity of the meeting. I know every Tuesday evening I can go to the local community center and get support. That's important. In the same way, if you're doing it online, whether it's knowing that every Tuesday you can get that support online, or whether it's having a static link, that is a Zoom link or a Teams link or whichever platform you're going to use that people know that they can get onto. The more you're able to make it easy for the people to access, the more likelihood they're going to access it. Reminding people frequently at each meeting that this is confidential. What people say in these groups is really very personal to them. And if they don't feel that they can be honest and open in these meetings, the meetings will not work well. You have to be able to ensure that confidentiality. And of course, I talked to you earlier about the facilitator. Now, the facilitator is just somebody who ensures that the meeting is open, is running, the chairs are put out, but they're also the person that guides the meeting. I always say the facilitator should be the person you hear from the least, because you want to hear from everybody else. But they're also the backup. So they might be saying, thank you, John, I appreciate you sharing. Would you like any feedback? They might remind people, oh, Julie, you've got feedback for John. What empathy or best practices do you have for John? Just to remind Julie that this is what we're asking for. It's important that the facilitator makes sure that the meeting ends on time. I gotta say, I'm surprised at how many times we get feedback from people who are pleased that we have a basic level of rules, we follow them, and we end our meetings on time. People like to be able to know that it's regular, but also that they're going to get out on time, and it doesn't drag on and on and on. When is this going to end? It's also important for you to consider, if you're going to be creating a mental wellness peer support group, that you get extra facilitators. Doing the job, as I said, is really rewarding, but it's also not easy. It certainly does take a little bit out of you each time because you do hear stories of other people's challenges, and that can be heartbreaking. So being aware of vicarious trauma is important. Being aware that sometimes you need to take a break, that the facilitators themselves may need to take some time away. Or equally so, go to another group where they can just be the participant and they're not running the show, but they're allowed to get off of their chest what's bothering them. Now, I mentioned advertising, and I think advertising is really important. Whether you're able to get into the newspaper or not, it's important. Make it personal. Make the people see what it is. And for us, and I'm highlighting it there in red, it's a little small there, but we've got a quote from Haley. We include in our little 4x6 cards that we hand out all over the place. And like I said, we offer a bonus. We offer free professional therapy with a licensed therapist. We take money from donations, and we're a nationally registered not-for-profit. We take money from donations, and we're able to pay for people to get therapy. So our regular members can get up to 5 sessions with a licensed therapist for free. And then they are able to continue on with that therapist at a low cost. We've partnered with other healthcare professionals, Nexum, and that's something you want to consider. If you're able to, the more times you're able to get the word out, the more times they will advertise your groups. But also, we're partnered with them, so they provide us the therapists at a low cost. And that means our people, after they've gotten the free professional therapy, can continue with the same therapist for sometimes as low as $100 a session, which, if you know anything about therapy, is really cheap. I shouldn't say cheap, I should say inexpensive, because the therapy isn't cheap. It's just not costing them as much. But whatever you do, start locally. You can grow. We have had facilitators from all over the world. We've had a facilitator from Sri Lanka. We currently have somebody who's very active from North Carolina. We have facilitators who are fluent in other languages. And one of the goals that I wish is that these groups grow to be a situation where somebody says, gosh, it's coming up 12 o'clock now. I need help now. And they can zoom on and get that help. As I said, you know, whether you're partnering with other service organizations that may help you, consider also starting with your own organization. Create a peer support group within your own organization. Within my organization, I'm part of the Voices for Mental Health. It's a grassroots organization within the Ministry of the Attorney General. It's provides education and awareness about mental health issues, but we also, through them, offer peer support every Thursday at 1 p.m. That allows them to get the peer support. It also allows us to connect with a wider audience. Now, let's try one more poll. All right. I'm going to go back and start that poll. Same question I asked before, but we're coming towards the end of the presentation. Now, how much do you know now about peer support? 10 being you know everything or a lot about it, 0 being you know nothing. And thank you very much as everybody's answering. You're getting a lot different results now. And let me share that poll with you there. All right. Okay. Now, sharing the poll there, you may not remember, but when we started the program this afternoon, or still this morning, the spread was fairly even, right? From, 2 or 3, answers of 2 or 3, right up to 10, with a nice curve in the middle, sort of 20% at about the 5, 6, 7 numbers of awareness of mental health peer support groups. Now we've gotten a huge skew right to the end. So I would say thank you very much. I'm glad that suggests in a way that you got something out of this presentation. And what I would say, just to sort of finish up, I first of all want to thank the HSJCC and Sherry Sim for organizing this, and thank you Cindy and Jennifer for helping make this specific room happen, and including me. I'm very pleased to have presented. But I also want to thank you, all of the attendees in this group. It's really important for a number of reasons. One, the fact that you are here is reducing the stigma. You're willing to listen to this. You're willing to share information. I think you're willing to be a conduit to others to learn, because when you leave here, I'm hoping you'll talk to other people about this, and that will reduce the stigma, and that will help other people. If you want any more information in the future, I'm more than happy to have you contact me directly. I do see that somebody is asking about the OPS Peer Support Program, and you can find that on the OPS pages. What I will do is send me an email. That's the best way. If you want to get in touch with me for that, I will send you the link. I apologize that I didn't have that here today, but more than happy. Please send me a link. You can see the email there, and I will get you out the link to the peer support group. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me today. I really appreciate you being here. I hope it has helped. If you have any other questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, I'll send it back to Cindy and Jennifer with my thanks for them.
Thanks, Jason. I just was going to say, if anybody wants to come off mute and just have a conversation, we do have a few extra minutes, probably about 8, to be able to support a conversation if anybody has any questions directly for Jason. And I'm going to put Jason's email. I was typing it in, Jason, your email into the chat, just so that it's easily accessible for folks. But I didn't get the whole thing written in before we lost the slide. So maybe you could throw it in.
Sure.
And then we'll see if anything comes up.
There's the email. It's
Thank you.
Jason@mentalwellness.help.
Oh, interesting. End of email.
Yeah.
I love it. Does anybody have any questions for Jason about how the peer support program works, or is there a connection to any organization where you could work with to set up your own peer support, or where to get more information, all of that kind of stuff? Claire, did you have a question? Oh, no, sorry. I'm just looking for people coming off mute and looking at the Q&A as well. Or you could put it in the Q&A anonymously if you like, to support our question and answer period. Just keeping an eye. I have a question in the chat. You can put it in the chat too. Forgot about that option. I'll read it out for you, Jason. Could there be a peer support group for individuals who feel marginalized because of their intellectual disability? So guessing, could be a number of things. Would it need to be structured differently? Good question.
So we have in the past, and we still do, offer specific groups for specific populations. One of the groups that we offer is specifically targeted to older people, seniors. There's no reason that you could not have a group specifically targeted to other individuals. Again, one of the public groups we have is to the OPS. And the reason for specifically targeting to people is of a certain area within life is that sometimes people feel more comfortable talking with somebody else who has similar backgrounds. So with respect to people who are marginalized because of their intellectual disability, I think that's a fantastic, great thing to do. I don't necessarily know that it would need to be structured differently, but what the challenge might be is to ensure that you have a facilitator who's able to make that happen. All of our facilitators have traditionally been people with a mental health challenge who have gone through the groups and, said, I want to give back. If you have a group that is specifically for people with intellectual disabilities, you might have to have a facilitator who is able to be aware of that and make sure that they are able to conduct the group appropriately. So I think that's sort of the real issue there, is just with respect to that.
I have a comment in the chat and then a question in the Q&A. So the comment in the chat is how beneficial peer support groups would be in detention centers. And my background is justice, so I would agree 100% on that. And I'll leave Jason to comment as well. And then we have a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think peer support groups, wherever they are, help. I think in a detention center, I think it would be very valuable. You end up with people, some of whom have been in detention centers before, some have never been in there. And it's a very challenging experience, I'm sure, for people who've never been in there, or even people who've been before. And to be able to communicate with those people within themselves, I think would be very beneficial. In the same way that having groups targeted for teens would be fantastic. That's one of the things that we really want to expand. And our next goal is to get into schools and universities. The nice thing about schools and universities is they have a fantastic rolling 4-year turnover. You start in grade 9, you leave in grade 12. And how wonderful would that be to have some grade 11s or 12s running a peer support group where, they're not bullies. They're there to help other young students. And the grade 9s come in and they're confused and they're unaware and it's overwhelming. Yet here's a group of people that have been there, done that, who've gone through grade 9 and 10, 11, but there to support them. Or a first-year university. I think that'd be fantastic. So if anybody has any connections to the school system, would love to connect there.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that there's a question, in the Q&A.
Yeah, there's two in the Q&A. One is mentioning that peer support is one thread in a web of support. How can someone know which thread they might need most at different stages of recovery?
I think that's always a very personal question. And I think the person, to a certain degree, some of it is what's offered. You get the help that's there. But also, I think it's what works for you as an individual. My first psychotherapist or psychiatrist, we didn't connect. And that wasn't the right support that I needed. It was really difficult for me to pull back and get somebody else. In fact, it needed the attempt to make that happen. Um, Equally so, once I got into that better headspace, I was able to look into myself and say, well, what else would you have needed, Jason? And I was like, well, I needed a peer support. So some of it is what's available. Some of it is a realization that what is available isn't working. And some of it is a realization, I want something else. And I think a lot of that is very personal, but some of it is, very educational. You need to know you can get, a psychiatrist, you can get a separate therapist, you can get, sometimes it takes medication, and the professional is there to help you. I would never suggest to anybody that listen to me as to what they should do professionally for their mental health. I'm just a peer.
And the next question is not so much a question, but more around wanting to organize a peer support group in their area of Southwestern Ontario, but nervous about the time commitment. Of course, we're all very busy, and wondering if maybe there are some groups that could help support that, or spaces, if they have the space and everything, but kind of need it. It takes a community, right? It takes a village. Are there ways to connect those? It sounds like what we're talking about.
Sure. I would say, first of all, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy and have helped other groups start their groups themselves. We have the infrastructure to make it a plug and play if you want. That is, we can start up a specialized group for your organization and run it off the platforms we have. It allows you to get up and running. If you want to continue with the platforms that we've got, then you continue. If you say, listen, we've got it up and running, we want to change some platforms, we can. We use something called Meetup as a sign up. You can sign up for a flag football, you can sign up for soccer, whatever. You can sign up for our peer support groups. So we're happy to help out with that architecture that we've already got structured out. But also, if somebody wants to chat about doing it sort of on their own type thing, going it alone, more than happy to do that. Again, one of the things that I think was really important was the regularity of the meetings. It doesn't necessarily have to be, every day, every week. I wanted to start mine off by a once a month meeting because I didn't know what the demand was going to be. But the regularity of that was helpful. So don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel that you have to, my gosh, this guy's doing it once every day. No. I've got other people to help me. It didn't start off that way. And you don't have to do it once a day or once a week. But having it regularly, it can definitely help get the people in and getting other people to support you. I was surprised at how much I got support. After the first couple meetings, I said to people, listen, I can't keep doing this all the time. And other people were able and willing to step up. It required additional work on my part to help train them, because we just don't dump them in without training. We train them how to use the Zoom and how to run our program, and give them, as I said, mental health first aid training, which is important so they have a base understanding of various mental health issues and challenges and how to address them. But you don't have to do this alone.
Thank you, Jason. Somebody also mentioned huge fan of RAP and would love to run one in South Niagara. So I don't know if the person who put that in wanted to explain RAP, or if you are familiar with RAP. I'm not, so I just wanted to put that in there.
I'm happy to help out, like anybody. If you're looking to start something up in South, Niagara or something like that, I'm more than happy to help out with that. With that. RAP is like a wellness recovery action plan, sort of as a way to, get people to get well, to stay well, and make their life, as they're looking for it. Oh, there, she's got it right up there. But as I say, I think that's fantastic. Anybody who does anything is a huge hero in my view. You're helping other people to get better. What more can we do as a society than help other people?
And in the chat, we have, there was a question earlier about potentially groups targeted for youth and in the teen years. If so, anything to consider related to that. I don't know if there's any youth specific, or if you can run youth specific through your platform.
Certainly can. And as I said, would love to, if people have connections to the education community, would love to connect with them so that we can expand into schools. That's a great way of doing it. But separately from the schools, absolutely, youths are more than welcome. our groups tend to be people who are about 30 to 75. And I think one of the challenges for the youths is, once you're 14, 15, 16, 17 to about 21, 22, anybody like me looks like an old person. And oh, that looks like mom or dad. I don't want to tell them what's going on. It's much more comfortable with somebody who's a peer. And that's what these are, peer support groups. So, having a youth-led peer support group would be fantastic. And I'm always happy to connect with them.
So Andrew just put some information in the question. We'll leave that there and make sure you get that after. Jason, I did have a question about saying that it would be a great potential for peer support to fill the gaps left by overburdened mental health symptoms, especially in smaller rural communities. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Priscilla. And then Rachel has her hand up. We have time for one more question from Rachel, and then we've got to wrap up.
And as Rachel's getting on her video going, I'll just say this. On that question from smaller communities, that's one of the real amazing things that Zoom has allowed us to do. You might only be one person in that community, you feel you're alone, and yeah, you're going to Zoom into somewhere else, but you're in a community, and you can get that help from the safety of your bedroom, wherever you are. Rachel.
Yep. Hi, Jason, and everyone. Mine is really just a comment. Your work has really inspired me. Maybe you recognize from my name, I've actually received some clients from you in the peer groups. And I just have to say, see, I work with them, provide professional therapy, and they really do speak highly of these peer support groups that I was so inspired when I saw that you were going to be presenting. I came here so that I can learn more about these programs and just even spread the word to other clients that I do see. It is, and I find
Fantastic.
that
Oh, thank you, Rachel. That makes me feel so good. Rachel is somebody we've been using as one of our professionals. Like I said, we pay for people to go and get professional help, and that's fantastic. You're here today. Well, thank you, Rachel.
Absolutely. And I have to say this. I was moved by the fact that even the facilitators actually do feel supported. Because it's one thing for the clients who are coming in to feel supported. It's also another thing for the facilitators to feel that they do have that support available for them. Because the work that we do, it's also easy to get that secondhand or vicarious trauma, you know. It's really amazing work that you do. And it's such a good sweet spot, like in between. Sometimes clients don't have enough resources to attend to therapy. And at times it's like, okay, I give them this homework and resources, but doing certain things by yourself, when you're really feeling down and low, it can be really tough. And as Jason just mentioned, at times you have family, they really love you, they care for you, but they haven't walked that path that you have walked yourself. So it's really such a good sweet spot, I do
Oh,
find.
Rachel, I'm so
And
glad you
yeah,
came, and thank you very much. This
you're
is
welcome.
fantastic. This is the virtuous circle that I'm so pleased about. We take the donations from individuals, Rotary clubs. We pay for a therapist, the company that helps connect us with them. Next, them they get free advertising, and I can get people into therapy within a week, and it's free to them, and everybody benefits. And Rachel then gets a stream of clients. Oh, I'm so happy about this. Thank you, Rachel.
I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer just to close up our session today and remind people about the survey. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks, Cindy. And thank you, Jason, for this wonderful presentation and for everyone for being here and for asking such wonderful questions and comments. Please join me in thanking Jason for his great presentation and for sharing his knowledge with us. And please also take a moment to fill in the survey for this session. If you click on the agenda in the platform, you can choose the session you're currently attending, and right next to the join button, you'll find a survey button. Please click on that survey button and complete the short survey. And we also encourage you to take some time to connect with fellow participants. Visit our poster exhibitor halls where you can view poster presentations, connect with exhibitors. Don't forget to add resources from our exhibitors into your personal swag bag. And to build your own agenda by adding sessions to your calendar, you can click the Add to Calendar button. We'd also appreciate if you could take a few moments to complete our conference evaluation. You can access the conference evaluation by clicking on the evaluation icon on the conference homepage in the menu bar. Your feedback is anonymous, appreciated, and will be used to plan future events such as today's conference. Thank you once again to our wonderful speaker, Jason, and for every one of you for your participation and insightful questions.